Rastafari.
We can hardly hear you. I don't know if it is from me alone.
Doctor, we can't hear you, please.
Sorry,
Can you hear
sorry,
me?
sorry. I said, my Lord, we applaud Prof. Wiro for his presentation. It's in fact insightful, informative, and very educative. Some of the misconceptions we held, some of the misinformation we have, he has, this presentation has corrected most of that misinformation we held. And a part of his presentation also confirms an aspect that was earlier espoused by Ras Seven Side in his last presentation. That is about Rastafari emerging from the Rastafarites emerging first from the US before being promulgated in Jamaica. I think many of us have also heard a lot, and at this juncture, we'll open the floor for comments, suggestions, and questions. But I want to commend the speaker for his presentation, for that much wisdom he has shared. My Lord, we appreciate you. So please, any questions?
Yes, sir. Greetings, Conqueror.
Greet.
Conqueror. Yes, I salute one and all. Rastafari Isis, you know.
True.
Yeah, man. I. Well, I soak up the whole vibes from beginning to end, and I can just say, you know, heavyweight doctoral presentation, you know. Yes, I. Lovely vibes, you know. Yeah, love. You don't know. Empire Saturday will never come. That's so we say. Lovely vibes, you know. Yeah, man. Teachings of Rastafari. Teachings, you know. Lifelong learning. Give thanks for the vibrations.
Give thanks same way I am.
Right.
All right, I'll go next.
I see your sister has her hand up.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll go after this issue.
Sister, you're muted.
I thought I was muted from. It was controlled from you, but okay. So
Yes,
I
yes,
have
thank
a
you.
question. Yeah, as we will.
Yes, I am.
Great presentation. I have a question, and the question can you throw some light on the origin of reggae music from Jamaica, as to the rhythms and what drums relating it to Africa, the origin.
Awesome question. So, reggae, as we know it, is directly connected to what we have come to know as Nyabingi drumming, which is also directly connected to Buru drumming, and also Kumina drumming, which I mentioned about earlier on. So when we hear what we call the heartbeat and these kind of drums, they are directly connected. But it is also important to know that in the Nyabingi orchestra, there are three drums, right? We have the funde drum, we have the kete drum, and we have the bass drum. Now, the kete drum, the name is a direct, I would say, continuity as well. Because in the Akan drum set, we also have the kete orchestra, which is made up of 6 different drums, of which one of them is directly the same as what we use in Jamaica as the kete drum. So reggae music is directly connected to these drumming patterns of Kumina and also Buru drumming. Thanks for the questions.
All right. right, I'll go figure next.
Yes,
Give thanks, Emperor. Very
Give thanks.
insightful. Give thanks. Very insightful, very informative, and straight to the point, factual. So I have more than the questions I'm going to ask, but for the sake of time, I'll just ask the ones that I have. And before I do that, I also want to confirm the point you made about the king, the divine kingship, right? Because right here in Ghana, we have the Otumfo, who is referred to by his people as Onyamikesie, Otumfo Nyamikesie, right? So that is confirmation of that concept among I as Africans. It's always been there. But the questions I have for you, Wiro, Dr. Ponwade, is first of all, was Percival, was he political? Did he try to form a political party, for instance? Because I'm trying to put some reasoning behind why he was so persecuted, especially by Bustamante, later on and all of that. Was he trying to maybe form a political movement? And then while we are at that, if you could also add this for me, the food culture of Rastafari, as we have come to know, did it start from Percival Howell? What connection is there with Barnyard and all of that? Give thanks.
Two great questions. Give thanks, Empire. I also want to give thanks to Empire. I mentioned it earlier on, who is broadcasting this presentation on the Radio Culture Network. So give thanks, Empire, for that. But two great questions. The first one, no, Leonard Howell did not establish a political party, but he had great following among the Jamaican population, right? So even though he was not directly involved in political party formation, his ideas were informing the behaviors of Jamaicans as is related to their political activities. So that is, in my estimation, one of the main reasons why he was persecuted. But he was also persecuted. Remember, this is a population which has been under colonialism. And one thing that colonialism does to your mind is that it pushes you into self-hate, right? So anything that reminded the people of Africa, people like Bustamante and Manley, were totally against, because they hated themselves. They didn't represent the black people. They were Syrians. They did not look like black people. Leonard Howell was a full-fledged African black Congo. And, the black people could identify with him. So they saw him as a great threat. And, he was also telling you know what? I'm burning down King George, and you, Bustamante, you're just a little... I told the people not to pay taxes to King George. So, who are you? So this made him a huge threat for the trade unionists such as Norman Mali and also Bustamante. Your second question, yes, the food waste that we know as Rastafari today was also enshrined in Pinnacle. Now, this includes ITAL food, particularly food that is cooked without salt. Now, this is also a continuity coming from the African people. Remember, even to this day, food that is cooked for the ancestors, they don't use salt in making that, because the ancestors are believed not to partake in anything salty. So the idea of salt abstinence was a direct continuity from Africa that was advanced by the Howell in Pinnacle. But as we have today, we have Rastas who are Italians and those who are not. That also existed in Pinnacle. Not everybody there was an Italist. There were people who, enjoyed other things. Give thanks.
Enough thanks. Give enough thanks.
My lord, you can come in with the next question. Why don't we just raise this hand?
Greetings.
Yes, I.
Insightful reasoning.
Give time. Go ahead.
Rob, I want to touch on the African religion aspect of Gonguru Maharaj. How would you say within Rastafari today African religion stands?
True. Give thanks for the question, Bosco. I think that that's a question that is an evolving one. But there are still aspects. For instance, if we look at certain Rastafari organizations, the way they lay their table, put certain fruits on their table, the whole idea of having His Majesty's pictures and all those are all aspects of different aspects of African religion. And I'm using Africa in the wider sense, not only limited to the continental Africa, but also to the diaspora. Now, in terms of bringing it to the fore today, I think that we need to look beyond ritual practices as what defines African spirituality and look more at what are the ideologies that drive African ways of knowing, African ontologies, African spiritualities, African ways of knowing. And one thing we're going to also see right off the bat is that it is dependent on nature. African spirituality is related to a deep observation of nature. When we look at Rastafari even today, a lot of us still have a good, close affinity to nature and to herbs and to using herbs for healing and all these kind of things. So these aspects are strong. The centrality of Africa to Rastafari is another aspect. As I mentioned in the presentation, looking at other practices such as menstrual taboos. All these things are things that, in one phase or in one way or another, try and embrace. Now, as to the depth to which this embrace is, it is relative. Some embrace it more than others, and depending on the kind of organization what belongs to, or the person, if that person does not belong to any organization per se. So, give thanks, Papa Bosco.
Rastafari, give thanks. And greetings to everybody on the call. Bless. I see some faces.
Distance, President. My Lord, the Virgin, you wanted to ask a question, the one with the curtains behind you, the window curtains behind you. Please come in. We barely know some of our names, so if you come in, please, you can introduce yourself. I'm Kofi.
That is Bongo. It's Bongo. Harold Bongo. He's got a curtain behind him.
Yeah, man. Rasbo, please come through with your question. Happy to see you.
Sorry, people. Hello?
Yes, I.
Yes, Raz, we can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
So my question is talking about Rastafari with food sustenance, self-sufficiency. How did Howard influence Kwame Nkrumah in attaining such ideology for Ghana, especially based on Rastafari tenets? And the second thing is, why did Marcus Garvey not support Howard in his African assertions in his movement? Because they were fighting for the same cause, yeah? And one becomes, I don't know if Marcus Garvey had that tenant to say, I am more educated than, I don't know, but I don't know, I want to see the connection between Marcus Garvey and Howard at the time that influenced the Pan-African world.
Give thanks. Let me start with your first question. So in terms of how Howard directly influenced Kwame Nkrumah, I do not know. What I do know is that Marcus Garvey directly influenced Kwame Nkrumah. And Kwame Nkrumah actually says this. He says, of all the books that he has read, the one that influenced him the most, was the philosophy and opinion of Marcus Garvey. So, and also let's forget that the Black Star that is in our Ghana flag is a direct tribute to Marcus Garvey's Black Star line. So yes, Marcus Garvey directly, Leonard Howell, not so sure. Now, I want us to...
But his book was published in Ghana.
Say that again?
His book was published in Ghana.
Yes, his book was published in Ghana, but that will be some research that we'll have to do. I don't know if it was, Kwame Nkrumah had anything to do with the publishing of Leonard Howell's book, the Promised Key, but it was definitely published in Ghana in the 1930s. I want to say 1935, right? So that is an earlier time, and Kwame Nkrumah activities were not so prominent at that time on the landscape. But in terms of your second question, yes, there was. Okay, let me put it this way. We don't want to dwell too much on the differences between Marcus Garvey and Leonard Howell, because as he pointed out, they were working towards the same cause. And we, as children of both Marcus Garvey and Leonard Howell, are also working towards the same cause. However, Marcus Garvey, had a feeling that he expressed, and sometimes he used certain words to describe certain African practices which were not so palatable. And I think that he felt that Leonard Howell had embraced a population in Jamaica which was seen as kind of backward, so to speak, right? And he didn't want to associate himself with that. But in terms of the message, right, of Black pride, repatriation, reparation, look to Africa. So even we have to look at Marcus Garvey's speech, where he says, he talked about if the white man has seen his God through his own spectacle, and if the Chinese man has seen his God through his own spectacle, it is time for Africans to also look and seek their God through their own spectacles. I'm paraphrasing here. We need to look at that speech carefully and look at what time he made that speech. Was he being influenced by Howell after his initial critique of Leonard Howell? So we don't want to look at it as, a kind of battle between the power, because guess what? The works of Marcus Garvey stand strong through I&I. The works of Leonard Howell stand strong through I&I. And all of these, as you said, we're working for the same cause that I&I is working for. So I give thanks for that question as well.
All right. Thanks. And one last question is, with the healing, yeah? Howard was a healer. Did he get his knowledge on herbs from the Africans, or he brought this from the Panama Canal in America? How?
Absolutely. So Howell directly got his healing knowledge from the Africans in Jamaica, even before leaving to Panama and before migrating to the United States. That's why when a time came for him to establish a shop in the United States, the first thing he thought about was what he was skilled in, that is healing people with herbs, and that's what he did.
Blessed Lord. Give thanks.
Give thanks. Yes, I.
Yeah. Zil. Yes, I. Blessed. Yeah, you give thanks for wonderful exposition. My name is Malcolm, and I want to know, was one preceding the other? If you look at Matlimo Plano and Howard, and also second, the position of Howell on the hair culture of Rastafari. Was Howell locks? And what was his position on the hair culture of Rastafari? Then thirdly and finally, the parallels of Howell in, let's say, Africa. Could we relate that to the Mau Mau and Dedan Kimati? These are my questions.
All right. Give thanks, Jamarco, for the questions. I believe your first question asks whether Howell was a locksman. Am I correct?
No, the first one was Massimo Plano and Howell contemporaries, or one preceded the other?
No, Howell preceded Massimo Plano in the initial stages. Howell lived till he was 82 years old. So he died in 1981, only a few months before Bob Marley passed on, right? So Howell's initial work was at a much earlier stage than Mortimer Plano, who was more active in the 60s and also in the 70s. Howell's time period stretched from the 1930s all the way to when he passed in 1981, right? And then your second question, no, Leonard Howell was not a lock, and many of the Howellites were not Lux people. It is said, though, that the security at Pinnacle were always Lux people. But apart from the security, most people at Pinnacle were not Lux people. And then the third question, you mentioned something about contemporary times, right?
Now, whether there are any parallels in Africa, if it can be related to Dedan Kimati and the Mau Mau.
So it is said that the Rastafari population that embraced Lux was greatly increased with Dedan Kimati and the Mau Mau on the stage fighting for the liberation of Kenya. Remember that, Leonard Howell and the early Rastafari preachers were preaching an ideology of black liberation, which we're still doing today, right? But when people in Jamaica saw Dedan Kimati, people like General China, and the Mau Mau warriors all in love, the population of Rastafari who wanted to wear locks and also embrace a black Africa-oriented ideology.
I'm sorry to come back in here because I know there's a lot of people who want to ask questions, but this is just to piggyback off what Jamalcolm just asked. What was the reasoning behind having locksmen as the guard? Do you know if there was any? What was the idea? Why did they have locksmen at the gate?
That would be something that will need to be researched. I'm not 100% as to what the reasoning behind that was, but in the literature, in the readings regarding Pinnacle, that is something that comes up. That the people who got it, who were at the security, were always people who were locks. But as to the reason behind, I do not know.
I want to quickly chime in here too, Ras Vero, because it's in connection with Ras Malcolm's question. So how did the Jamaicans get to know the Mau Mau warriors? Because at that time, the media was not as prominent as it is now. So how do you think the connection came about?
Very good question. So remember, in those days, there was no... TV was just coming around. TV actually came around in for those of the so-called developing countries, it became a thing in the 1960s. But what was really around during those times were newspapers, right? And newspapers were really cherished. And some of these newspapers, some of them coming from England, some coming from Kenya. And there were organizations in Jamaica which were actually subscribing to newspapers from Africa. And these newspapers having these images in them. This is how these people were getting exposed to issues related to the Mau Mau, seeing pictures of the Mau Mau in places such as in Jamaica. It was mostly through newspapers.
Can I come in? Hello.
Greetings, my lord.
Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Willa. My name is Willa. My
Ogboni Willa.
Real I.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my lord. My question is, where did Jah come into the whole equation of Rastafari, when people start to call Jah Rastafari and things like that? Say Haile Selassie is Ethiopia and Rastafari, simple.
Well, one thing I mentioned earlier on, give thanks for the question, Willa, was that, Howell, having been inspired by the Rastafarites, they believe in looking at the Bible as a book that can be reinterpreted for Black liberation purposes. So this Jah Rastafari also is something that came from Pinnacle, under Howell, the whole call and response, Jah and Rastafari as the response. Even though there are some people who are trying to again ascribe that to India, but as we all know, when it comes to call and response, the whole world, everybody know that call and response comes from Africa. So Jah Rastafari is also coming from African people in Jamaica, from Pinnacle, and then dispersing through the other Rastafari organizations, EWF, Bobo Shanti, and 12 tribes and other organizations that came later on down the line.
So wait, that's proof right there. Call and response.
Right.
There you go. Just an example.
Yes, sir, my lord. So I also want to ask a question. You said Howell was addressing the issue of heaven on earth. He approached it like he was exposing the people to the European trick. So could you tell some of the things he was saying to dispel the notion of heaven after death? And presently, if you look at Rastafari, are we on that same mission? Are we dispelling the notion of heaven after death? And what do you think are some of the teachings that would help, like present day Rastafari, advance that Howell conversation of exposing the trick of heaven after death? I give thanks, my Lord.
True, give thanks for the question. So, yes, Roscoe. So Howell absolutely was advancing that idea. Now, he was saying that, look, the people who are telling you that you should wait to die, and then when you go to heaven, you enjoy it. Look at their lifestyle here. They have everything. They are enjoying right here on earth, and they are using you to get what they want. So why don't you do for your own self? So the whole idea of self-empowerment, and that's why he established all these Pinnacle and all these big businesses, all these bakeries around Jamaica. As I pointed out earlier on, he made sure that all these were directly impacting the lives of his followers. So followers who came in with nothing, at the end of the day, were self-sufficient. They had what they needed. Their economic conditions had improved. So Howell was practical in that sense. He was saying that, look, let's forget about waiting to die. Nobody has ever died before and gone to heaven and come back and tell us how it was over there. Let's do our own thing here. Let's establish it under our own king and our own principles, Rastafari. I think there was a second part to your question. You asked what? So in today's terms, right? We as Rastafari today can learn from that, and I think that's something that we also need to point out to our brothers and sisters who are still under the colonial sway and who, quote unquote, being made to be satisfied with the idea of waiting to die to go somewhere and then enjoy. Right? It is time that we as Africans look to ways that we can establish our quote-unquote kingdom right here on earth and not be tricked, as Howell said, into thinking that, you suffer here on earth and then once you die and go to heaven, you enjoy. Yes, Sister Sanya.
That's real. This is my last question and comment, then I'll exit. I am also wondering, what are we doing today as Rastafarians to advance our cause? To the notion of heaven and earth also, but also to encourage, our youth in Africa and to build Africa so that, it will be a heaven for us to leave Babylon and come and enjoy Zion, and stuff like that. So this question is, what are we doing? And as Daddy Bosco is on the platform and Ryder in the motherland too, this is a question that I'm asking. I don't know what activities are going on there right now for me to, I'm not in link with Rastafari right now because of where I'm located. But I've seen on social media the bus stop boys in Accra, and the work they are doing is so beautiful and exemplary. And I think this should have been a cause of Rastafari, So what are we Rastas doing to establish our mark? I know that the church tribes, we used to do these things. It was on a smaller scale, but these bus stop boys are doing it on a larger scale, and we can support them, or what else are we doing?
Great question, Sister Sadia. I think that, I don't think we are not doing anything, but I think that there is more that needs to be done. We all fall short of that. I think we all can do more in that regard. Maybe it will not come through as what the bus stop boys are doing, but with organization, remember, as Marcy said, we have to organize and centralize. So with organization, an organization does not necessarily mean that belonging to an organization, but working towards the same cause. So as you said, if there are some activities, maybe this could be a catalyst for us to look at some of the things that we can engage in propelling this idea of creating a heaven and earth on earth for I&I people and for African people at large. Give thanks.
Daddy Bosco, do you have something to contribute as to what are the works going on down there that we can support or we can be aware of?
Yeah, hello. I think for me, what I think we should institute from Howard into our lives is food self-sufficiency. And I think Rastafari movement with Daddy Bosco, we have something like that going on. Kofi Asante can tell you, because I feel food and creativity should be fused together like Howard did in Pinnacle. And I think there's something going on. So Kofi Asante can tell you, we're trying to establish something. I believe in farming, because that's the way Rasta can feed himself first. Food, clothes, and shelter. So I think we're doing something, but we need some energy, We need some energy like we're all giving us tonight to take the energy from Howard and say, let's do something more, Yeah. So Kofi Asante, if you're hearing me, you can tell the people what we're doing, Yeah. So,
yes, but I'll give some information. I think Daddy Bosco's network he's having issues with his network, so maybe when he comes up, he can add a little. We have started what we call the Rastafari Farmers Cooperative. When the whole notion of the ability to farm, acquire license to farm and all that came in, we thought as a group the best way we can appeal to these government bodies or whoever is concerned is to be organized or to approach them as an organized body. So we proposed the idea of a Rastafari Farmers Cooperative. So here we are mobilizing funds to advance farming. The intent is to acquire a piece of land and commence some farming activities that will generate income. So we intend to employ all the aspects of farming, that is production, manufacturing and sales. If possible, connect to our brothers at home and abroad as our market. And so we have commenced, or we have made available shares at 200 cedis each. So to be a member of the cooperative, an individual is expected to purchase a share at 200 cedis each. As many shares as one can purchase for now is commendable. We have ones with 5 shares, others with 6 shares. And so the registration is 50 cedis each. And like I mentioned earlier, the notion is to position the Rastafari community in such a way that when it's necessary to acquire a license, we can approach the government or whoever as an organized body, as a farmers cooperative, so that we can also participate in whatever the country or what opportunity the country or the ministry has for farmers. One of the reasons is also to, like I mentioned, position the Rastafari farmers to assess benefits that the government has. Mostly there are fertilizer, manure, but according to our farming practices, most of I&I, we preach organic farming. And so how do we advance the need for organic fertilizers, organic as an organized body? How do we make inputs regarding farming? How do we, all these is why we have put together the Rastafari Farmers Cooperative. So we have about 10 shareholders. The minimum requirement to register a cooperative is to have 10 shareholders. We have that now, and we are engaged with the national cooperative body to register the Farmers Cooperative. So as many people as possible who would purchase shares, that will enable us generate enough income to, one, acquire land and commence on farming activities. So please, in brief, this is what the Rastafari Farmers Cooperative is about. And this is one of the...
If we are abroad.
Empress, your question again, please.
How can we purchase shares? How can we be part of it? We're not there.
Yes, please. Some of our members, like Rasbongo, who just spoke, is also abroad, but he sent it through a representative in Ghana here. If Momo Services or Western Union or any other means of sending money is possible, we can receive money on behalf of yourself and or the cooperative, and then make available some shares for you. So I think if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. And I have to exit. Thank you. It was a great program, Raswiro. Give thanks.
Yep.
So please tell me more.
I have one more quick question. If nobody else has a question, because I don't want to be the one asking too many questions when others have, But anyway, if there's time, can I also ask Wiro quickly? So Rastafari, right? And a lot of people would get their introduction to Rastafari through biblical antecedents, through biblical connections and all of that. Now we are experiencing a world where Christianity itself, or the Bible as a base source, is suffering, in terms of even people, how many people are going to church these days and all of that. The Bible itself and Christianity. And I'm not saying this is the case, but many people seem to have its initial antecedents with biblical references. How are we dealing with that? How is Rastafari dealing with that? And what's your reaction generally to this concept, if I'm making sense?
Great question. I think that it is important, Empire, to cut our minds back to the colonial period in which people like Leonard Howell took the stage, right? The people were steeped in this kind of biblical idea, but he did not limit his ideas to the Bible. He used, where necessary, the Bible to make a case. But at the same time, the whole point he was making was, we are Ethiopian, we have our own king, we have our own liberty, We have our own practices. Let us embrace that, right? So with that, the Bible can be taken out of that context. Now, I'm not here to step on anybody's toes and tell them not to believe what they want to believe in. But I think that's a great question. I mean, in today's world, right, there's a lot of knowledge, and that is hurting the use of the Bible, right? But it also depends on why you're using the Bible. Are you just embracing the Bible for embrace sake, or are you using it as a tool to liberate your people? So if it is as a tool for liberation, then some people do need that, right? But there are some people too who are above that. And I think that, those who are not so inclined and have other reasons where they can justify, being a Rasta without a Bible, why not, right? Even Leonard Howell, he wrote the Promised Key, right? Because if the Bible was sufficient for him, he wouldn't have written the Promised Key. The Promised Key was to emphasize, what the task at hand is, which is liberation of all African Ethiopians at home and abroad, right? And I think we should be of the same mindset today. I think that after the dispersal from Pinnacle and Bakawa and the establishment of Rastafari organizations, some of them emphasize the Bible a lot. Some of them emphasize the Bible, but emphasize the Bible as a tool for liberation, right? And those ones, I mean, there are some people who need to come through the Bible because the Bible is so steeped under our colonial system. But the expectation is that if you come through that initially, you'll also be able to learn more and graduate from there and see that, African liberty has been in existence from the very first time that humans appeared on this earth. And therefore, we need to continue in that manner. So to answer your question, to summarize, I would say, Rastafari in this time needs to look beyond just the Bible. If you are using the Bible, you must use it in terms of as a tool to liberate yourself. But then there is also a problem there because there may be some things in there that necessarily do not always work towards Black liberation, right? So for instance, if they say that it's only a rich man, it is hard for a rich man to go to heaven, just like it is hard for a camel to go through the eye of the needle. This is what Leonard Howell would call a trick, right? Why are you telling us this when you are taking our resources and building your societies? So we need to critically look at these things. But I think that at this point in time, Rastafari need, as Bob Marley said, Rasta don't believe, Rasta know. It wasn't even him who said that. He was just repeating what Rastafari has been saying. But we need to be more inclined towards knowledge and Lego belief behind. And give thanks for the question. Excellent question. Yeah.
Alors, fait combien?
And then presses, we have advanced the 2 hours. I think Ras 7 side is coming in.
Quickly.
My Lord. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And Prof, thank you so much. Rasiro, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
There'll be something where you didn't emphasize what I think say go help us a lot when we keep it in mind. This thing about how, as you say, you keep on going back to say it wasn't just this and that, but it was political. You talk about Black liberation, African liberation, like as you say, what that means be very important for us if we put all of these things in that context. Another one to the point about the Congo presence in Jamaica after they end the slavery thing. I mean, abolish it on paper in 1807. How between 1841 and 1868 they sent a lot of people from the Congo and other parts of Africa. Of course, I love the way you give us a detailed picture of that. But I'm going to think about how seriously we take that too. It's like when you had to talk to a man and say Congo, right? And all this, it's not just words. It's us. It's real people. And in Jamaica right now, there's a strong presence of of the Congolese culture where they feed into the thing where we live as Rastafari. And then one last one, Nyabingi. Well, no, so you could talk about Nyabingi in a few weeks, right? I would love to hear you where you go take that one. But as far as the Pinnacle presence, the Pinnacle members, the time the thing that they do for Pinnacle in terms of groundations, their sessions, their worshiping sessions, their praise sessions, their rituals that they perform over there. The drumming was a serious thing, like you could tell us, right? That time, there's a lot of Rastafari people who were averse to the idea of drumming. They thought it was backward. But these brothers did not stop and say, Rasta people don't do this, so we're not going to do it, right? They went in there and they were playing the drums when it came to the initial Nyabingi sessions. And they kept on doing it, right? Against a lot of resistance from some of the brethren. They thought it was not clean. They thought it was backward. They thought it was, whatever. But the Pinnacle people were playing the drums. And now when we think of Nyabingi, some people think about the drumming first, And to the point about Mortimer Plana and Count Ossie, who's better known for as one of the main figures in bringing about Nyabingi. Definitely, these people were vibing off of what's happening out of the Pinnacle scene. So the importance of Leonard Howell be something where we pronounce a lot. Because I was reading someone, he was wondering where this fit into the African question. So give thanks for elaborating on these things and taking your time to get into it. I know there's much more you go fit say about these things, but maybe another time when you come through, maybe if you elaborate on some of these things and extend some of these reasonings some more. Give thanks.
Yes, I give enough thanks for those words. I am very, very, very straight and to the point. So thanks for that.
Give thanks.
Yeah, one love, real eye. Thanks for the presentation and very nice presentation. For me, it's not really a question, but it's a call to all of us in terms of leadership. Is it right for a Rasta to be part of leadership in maybe the various countries we come from, whether it's Congo, Nigeria, or whatever? Because if you check, the struggle is a little bit difficult. And they're not doing anything to help Rasta. So I think for me, I would say it's important to push most of us into some of these leadership roles so that we can empower our youth and all that to keep up this leadership role, so that at least we can push our movement forward in terms of empowerment and stuff. I don't know whether I'm making sense, but I feel I don't know if it's right for a Rasta to be part of this government, like maybe into politics and all that, because I feel that is where you can that is the only way we can push some of these things forward.
That's a brilliant point. I think that both positions hold true. The two things can be true at the same time, right? I mean, I think that Rastafari, as we know it, burn politics and all these things, right? But at the same time, we can be strategic, right? I think we've been having these discussions, some of Adrian and I. We can be strategic, and as you said, push people to certain positions and have them, also work on behalf of I, because, like I said, we need to empower the African youth. And how are we going to do that, right? And that could be a strategy. But the danger is that we should not think that is the end game. That's the end in all, right? If you get it, then you can become some big politician, and then that's the end of it, right? It is a matter of using it as a tool. We have to use all available tools to us, to push our agenda forward. So absolutely, I give thanks for those words. Anyway. Yes, Rastafari. I think, like you said, our time. Yeah, man.
Yes, sir. So, me want chip in last day. You for come every time can teach us more, like you used to do those times, So I will appeal, Yeah, man. So from ownership.
That's a great point. But I think this is also, all of us get something to say, and I feel we all should also look at times and topics that, because like you talking about the agricultural thing, all of us can learn from that. So, I think this should be a great opportunity for all of us to also, look at what we know about and come in and present so that we all can learn from it.
Each one teach each one. So, blessed love. Papa may want more teachers. More teachers, really. Yeah, man. Blessed love and keep doing the great works. Yeah.
Rastafari,
right. For good days in terms of ownership, still continue, We still,
Yes, sir.
Blessed love, yeah.
Much love, yes.
Yeah, man. Bless.
We give thanks to Prof for his thought-provoking presentation. Our next presentation will be in 2 weeks' time, the 18th of August 2024, and the presenter will be Ras Christian Nochi, aka 7 Fireside, and he will present on the topic repatriation before and after Marcus Garvey. So we do appreciate the presenter. We appreciate I all who have taken time to be present in this reasoning. I think there are many of you who would like to add one or two, but we have already exhausted the 2 hours slated for this conversation. So if there is nothing much to add, we would like to bring the curtains down here. But is there anybody who thinks there is any last thing you would like to chip in? If not, does the presenter has any final words you'd like to put across? And then we can call it a night. My Lord Professor, please have any final words.
Well, yes, Rastafari, so give thanks once again for putting this series together. Give thanks to Ras 7 Fireside. Give thanks to all of them. I think that, like His Imperial Majesty said, knowledge stops only at the grave and even goes even beyond that. So, we should all try to learn from each other as we progress. And one way of doing that is, organizing these sessions. So I give thanks for the time, and I give thanks to everybody who was able to take time out of their day and be here. So give thanks.
Give thanks.
Yes,
shout out to Ras Percival for broadcasting as well.
Radio Culture, we appreciate
it. Radio Culture.
We hope subsequent lectures will also receive the same, broadcast. On that note, we give thanks, my lords and empresses. We appreciate your time. Like I mentioned, this is Garvey month, and the next presentation will highlight Marcus Garvey and his repatriation agenda. So we invite you all. Please, we'd like to invite you all to help us in sharing the invitation for the meeting. When the flyer and the invite comes, we will appreciate that you all share your links and also invite the next meeting. My Lord Prof. Wiro will also ask, if it's possible, you can share a written, if you have a written form for your presentation, I would like to present it, I would like to publish it on the website and share the link for others who couldn't attend this reasoning to also read and also benefit from the presentation. I want to ask Prof if possible. My Lord, please, will it be possible to get a written form of your presentation so that we show on the website for others?
Yes, I will. You hear me?
Please come again.
I said I'll work on it.
We appreciate that.
In the meantime, the audio format will be available.
Yes, I would also like to note that it has been fully recorded in a video format.
So make the audio format available in the shortest possible time.
Yes, and we also have a video recording session which will be posted on the YouTube channel of the Rastafari Council. That will be available from tomorrow.
Wow, we do. But I know want to give thanks most times. Last year, Rastafari, give thanks for your presence, my Lord.
Rastafari.
Rastafari. Last year.